Here we go. Hello and welcome to Clever Title Pending. We're back, where we talk to creatives about creativity and the business behind it. And if you're here live, it's a great way to gain some new information that'll help you level up in your career. And if you're watching us on the replay, we appreciate you taking the time to check us out. So either way, type your questions in the comment section, and we'll try to get some answers for you. This broadcast is brought to you by Rising Tide Publications and Plasma Fire Graphics. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you. Let me get that. There we go.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
When you've worked hard on your book, you want the best cover you can get, and for that you need to go to Jeffrey Hayes and Plasma Fire Graphics. Check out his Facebook page, then bop on over to plasmafiregraphics.com and ask about his independent creator-friendly pricing. You will be pleasantly astonished. That's Plasma Fire Graphics when the look of your book matters to you, because it definitely matters to your readers. Now stick around. We're going to start the show with Jim Beard and John C. Bruening. Stay tuned.
Seconds.
Welcome to Clever Title Pending, a proud member of the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. We talk to creatives about creativity and the business behind them. So type in your questions and become part of the conversation. And now, here's your host, Brian K. Morris.
And welcome to the show. Thank you for waiting for us to come back. We've enjoyed our Wednesdays or our Tuesdays off, but we switched to Wednesday just to experiment. And we're going to be back for a limited time with season 2 here, but we're going to have some great stuff, I promise you. And we're not going to do a weekly show. We'll give you announcements on when we will be coming back, but we promise we'll be worth the wait. And I am so glad, because I have picked 2 guys, or actually they picked me. They said, when are you coming back? And I said, well, okay, fine. So here they are. And I honestly, I kid them, but I really like these guys. I respect them highly. And bring your questions, and because you're going to learn a lot tonight, because I'm bringing on Jim Beard and John C. Bruening of FLINCH Books and other publishers. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming here.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, when are you going to get a damn title for this show? It's been pending for how long now?
I know. It's just that I'm such a clod. You know, I just can't think of anything original. So
That's it. I'm such a clod. There's your title.
Well, the Federal Trade Commission does insist on truth in advertising. So, so gentlemen, again, thank you for being here, man. It's always a pleasure to run into you guys at conventions and other places, and it's good to have you on the show here. Kicking off our second season. The first one lasted 3 years, so we're going to try to shorten up the
season
next
premiere. Yes,
season premiere.
Yes.
Wow.
This is where we set the tone for the entire the next several episodes. Yes.
Is this sort of a make or break type of deal here?
If I haven't broken this thing yet, I doubt you guys can do it, because God knows I put enough effort into it.
I don't know. I'm pretty good at breaking things.
Well, there we go. Oh boy, everyone out there in the audience, call your friends. This could be TV, broadcasting history here.
History in the making.
Yes,
That's right, my God.
It's not here first. Yes.
Well, anyway, I'm going to give you guys the floor and all the dirt on it. We'll start with Jim and John. Tell everybody who you are and why you are so awesome.
Oh,
lie if you must, Jim.
Wait, who said I was going first? I don't remember doing rock, paper, scissors for this thing.
We had a secret committee consisting of myself and Cookie, and Cookie left the room,
It was pretty damn secret. I'm Jim Beard. I'm a writer, editor, and publisher, and my two companies are Flinch Books and Becky Books, and I also write for other companies too. I do a lot of my own stuff, but I do a lot of licensed stuff too. I have interests across the board, and that's I can't think of anything more awesome than all of that.
Well, I'm pretty impressed too. I'm stuttering.
I'm such awe. Impress you, Brian.
I know it takes a lot. And now here's John C. Bruening. John, introduce yourself, please.
I am John C. Bruening, C for Christopher. For those of you who might be curious, C is not for curious. I am not nearly as awesome as Jim, but I am proud to be his publishing partner at Flinch Books.
Keep working on it.
Yeah, I am. Like Jim, I am a writer, and editor, and publisher. I don't have my fingers in quite as many pies as Jim does, but I consider myself a gun for hire. If you're a reputable publisher, or even if you're not a reputable publisher, I will consider doing some wordcraft for you. Just I'm first and foremost a storyteller, and I look for any possible avenues and opportunities to just to do that. So, but my primary responsibility, my primary focus is Flinch Books. Jim and I have been doing that for almost 8 years now, which is scary.
It? Wow.
It'll be 8 years in January, February, I think. So, yes, and so that's pretty much my story. That's the one I'm sticking to.
All right, very good. Wow, 8 years. That's pretty good. Yeah.
and they said it wouldn't last.
That's true. That's true. It's almost like my marriage. We found out from our friends that they had a betting pool on me and Cookie to see how long we'd stay married. All bets were off after 6 months.
Wow.
I'm like, you bastards. Anyway, but we've got very, very cool people in our audience tonight. We got the great Carl Witzman. Carl, glad to see you. Good evening to you. And liked and shared. Wow. Thank you.
Look at that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yes, but what?
Yeah. he just shared that he liked and shared this.
That's right.
And Cindy Kep, another author here. Good evening, Cindy Mwah. Glad to see you. CKOEPP.com. Check it out. And Facebook user, hello. Good evening, Brian and the guests. Good evening to you. Glad to see you. And Brian Rodman says, oh, how I've missed this show. I know, me too. But as I was telling these guys, I was getting really comfortable having evenings off. So now I'm back in the saddle again. And Brian, I see your question. We'll get back to that. And Joe Dog McKeel, hola amigos. Hey, Joe Dog McKeel, the guy in charge of HoloCon. Please check out holocon.com. That's where I'm going to be next weekend. And I am going to have the premiere of a couple of books, such as The Adventures of the Blue Circle, and this one that we're going to probably mention once or twice here, as all three of us are involved. John, where's your company? Thank you.
Wow, it's like we planned it or something.
I know.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah, holy cow. It's like there's a conspiracy here. But anyway, I'll be premiering those two books at HoloCon. Please come see us. All right.
Suddenly I'm interested in this show.
It took a lot, too, and only in 10 minutes, too.
All right, I'm paying attention now.
Okay, good.
The same book.
And I'm sobering up, so this is going to be good. Tempest Law, we hope you have a great day, too. And Charles Millhouse, three of my favorite guys.
What?
Another Buckeye is hurt.
Famous chef Charles Millhouse?
Charles Millhouse, the famous chef who is now my son's boss, actually.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, my son is now at OU, and he works in Charles's kitchen, as a matter of fact.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Well, very cool.
Yep.
And everyone's saying hello to each other. And J.D. Smith, artist, where you been, man? I've been hanging out in all the wrong places. So, and Teresa Dunn, glad to see you here. Hope you're having a good evening. And, well, first of all, their repertoire at Flinch Books is amazing, and of
There's
course,
some oldies right
I'm
there.
particularly fond of
I'm
this
surprised
book
you
here.
didn't put that one up first.
The best for last, brother. Best for last.
Oh, okay. Checks in the mail. Checks in the mail.
All right. Good night, everyone. Anyway, so
That was fun. See ya.
yeah, drive safely.
Hey, I'm glad this is over.
Yeah, really. Phew, that was close. Thank goodness nobody will see this. Anyway, but we've got some questions from Brian Rahman. But first, who picked the billing order? Because usually it's Jim then John. Now, who picked the billing order here?
For what?
How you're mentioned. Like on your
Oh.
books, it's Jim then John.
I would say technically, I mean, we call each other co-founders, but I say Jim has probably like a 6 or 8 month head start because he launched Something Strange is Going On, and
Yeah.
I think he just, correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but I think he discovered within about 6 or 8 months, like, wow, this is a handful of work for one person.
Pretty quickly, yes.
Yeah.
Here, I always thought it was the shortest name went first, or we went alphabetical.
Or the youngest goes first. I don't know.
I fit all three of those categories.
There you go. Yeah.
Or the straight man versus the really funny person. So
It might also be this. The one with
Yeah. The guy with
Yeah.
the guy with
With
more
more
hair goes first.
Oh,
Hey, I've
man.
stood behind
I'm
you,
getting
pal.
there.
I
I'm getting there.
I have stood behind you at conventions. I know what's
I
going
know,
on. back
I'm getting there.
And soon your head shall be perfect like ours, Jim.
I'm thinking about maybe wearing a fez.
there.
I think you should. I mean, it's it's done a lot for my love life.
Yeah. But I don't want to get another C and D.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But no, we would allow. We could work out a
life.
licensing deal because you're my friend. Anyway,
Uh,
so what made you decide to start Flinch Books, and why did you call it Flinch?
That's Jim's question
You have-
right there.
I started Flinch Books because I wanted to be my own boss. I mean, I'm just going to lay it right out there. I mean, that's really what it came down to. It was a little bit of frustration with working with others, and thinking about how I would do things. And I decided, maybe I can teach myself a lesson by trying to do it all myself. But I just, I've always been a ringleader all my life. The kids in the neighborhood, I had to be the one to organize everything and come up with the games that we were going to play and the rules and everything else. It was usually my Mego action figures that we all played with and stuff like that.
Yep.
But as John was saying, I learned very early on that I am too right-brained to to get to the finish line of publishing a book. And I really, really needed some grounding, and that's where John came in.
There's the disconnect right there, because if you're looking for somebody to ground you, I'm not sure why you came to this person, but whatever.
Well, oh no, I'm sorry. You're mistaken. All along, I meant that I needed to be grounded, as like children are grounded when
Right.
they're
Go to
mad.
your room.
Yeah,
you're
sit in
right.
the corner.
Not until I say so. And 8
Yes.
years later, you haven't come out yet.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for my dinner that I was denied
Yeah, you keep waiting, pal.
in my room. Flinch Books came. The title came actually from my brother, my older brother, who, when we were little, called me Flinch. Like I started to think that was my name at one point. He was the kind of older brother who was constantly, flicking his fingers in your face and acting like he was going to punch you, and he'd make me flinch over and over and over and over again. And he'd always say, "Why are you flinching, huh? Why are you flinching? Why'd you flinch? Why'd you flinch?" And then he just started to call me Flinch. So
He sounds like a wonderful guy.
I know,
Yeah.
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 And I don't know. I mean, it's literally, I needed a name for the company, and I said, Flinch Books. That sounds good.
Speaking as the man who calls this show Clever Title Pending,
Yeah,
based on a
it
note
was
he wrote to
either
himself,
that-
I understand.
It was either that or sibling abuse books.
Well, that would have drawn some
Companies
more
that
You
Right,
tell
for
me which one sounds better.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But, J.D. Smith says better flinch than wedgie.
Yeah, that's true. That was on the list.
Oh, God. I don't doubt that a bit. But, now we're going to get into the controversy here, and it's something that's sparked just before we came on the air.
Uh-oh.
Writer versus author.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now,
writer and the author.
Okay, now a lot of people have debated this, and I have.
I have to circus clown.
Wow.
Jim's called me worse, but anyway,
He shows up late and then he drops bombs.
I know it. Good Lord. But anyway, to both of you, what do you see as the difference between the two, or do you see a difference? Other than a term of abuse and keeping the other in their bridle.
Jim does, but I understand the thinking. I think he and a lot of people perceive the word author as more pretentious, and writer is more like just like workhorse.
Right.
And I understand. I understand that thinking, and in certain contexts, I agree with that. But sometimes it just, I don't know. But I think he has stronger feelings about that than I do. What's that?
He just hates it when I bring this up.
Which is why I brought it up.
We have a couple. We both have a couple of hot button topic things or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't deny other people to use that title. It's not for me. When people apply it to me, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. I feel more like the pulp writers back in the day. I don't think they would have liked to have been called an author, or maybe they would. But I know author to me is something that you work towards and you get there someday. But I don't know. I always equated authors with the kind of people who write a book and the title, it's something, a novel.
And they wear like suede jackets with
Yeah.
Or these corduroy jackets with suede patches, and they smoke pipes. I don't do any of those things, just so you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do carry a pipe with me on
dinner
tour.
parties and cocktail parties.
Cocktail parties, and
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I prefer the term hack. You know, and I had a conversation with somebody one time where somebody called me a hack, and they were talking about their process, which was, to agonize over every word, and deadlines are the things that you wave at as they're passing by. And I said, I'll take hack, and embrace it. Yeah. Because I'm the guy that gets called every time your candy butt can't make a deadline. Right. And then the next time you miss a deadline, they call me again. And the third time, they save a whole lot of trouble and just call me to start with. Right. So
yeah, I may be a hack, but I'm right. But I'm working. Right.
That's true. Exactly. Yeah.
That's what to me a writer is. A writer works at works at it. We're in the trenches.
Right.
That. I'm not diminishing anybody who uses that title at all. It's just not for me personally.
I think writer. The word writer describes what you do. To your point, Jim, and the word author is more like the persona. And I mean, and again, like I say, in certain contexts, I understand. I understand how there's a resistance to that word, but I don't think I have quite the same resistance to it as you do.
I'll be that guy.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, because you go to some place like Windy City Pulp and Paper, and the motto is decorum. Dignity, always dignity, right?
Dignity, always dignity.
We didn't see any of that because we
I get
were
that reference. Corner. I understand that reference.
Good man. Oh, which I am looking forward to again so much this year. It was so much fun to hang out with you guys. And I got to tell everybody, it is fun.
Better position in the hall. That's what we're looking forward to next spring.
Yeah.
I have already sent in for my table, and I have already dropped the names of people I want to sit next to. And sorry, but I did mention your names too. So
we don't want to be with the writers anymore. We want to be with the authors.
Well, I have my own hack section, so y'all come see me now. I'll be in the back of the building.
And a couple of hacks here and there.
There we go. Well, we're getting some good questions from our audience, so I think let's tackle a few of those and abandon mine, because then this way I can have you back, because I've already got questions. Okay. And Brian Robin, now I got to brag on Brian here. Brian is a comic book creator. Mm-hmm. And he, Jim has written some comic scripts, numerous comic scripts. He is switching to prose. And he's moving into the world of prose.
Don't do it!
Well, and then the thing is, he carefully selected an editor that, the best person he could afford. So, anyway, I work for copies.
And what are you doing for him?
I open the doors for him and make sure that everyone calls him Mr. Rodman when he comes in. So
carry his luggage.
Yeah, exactly. I am the luggage he's carrying. But his questions are: what are your rituals for inspiration?
I know what mine are.
Okay.
Go.
So
go
for me, it's a lot about reading and watching stuff that is it's in line with my my personal entertainment pop culture tastes, and it's in line with the kind of story I'm trying to write. If I want to write a detective story, I'm gonna just go read one or watch something or listen to some old time radio detective story to kind of get the cadence of the language and the dialogue. Or if I want to write, I don't know, a science fiction story, I'll watch something or read something along those lines. That's kind of where I go. It's just I kind of draw on that enormous, almost endless well of stuff that came before me, usually more retro than not.
Yeah. Pretty good.
That's kind of where I go.
I don't have any. I don't mean to sound like an author, but no, but I'm being very serious. If there's one thing that I'm blessed or lucky or whatever you want to call it about, is I have never had a problem coming up with ideas, because most of the times they literally just pop into my head.
I will vouch for that. Yes.
I very rarely had to go out and seek them, and that's my problem is ideas. I got a million of them. My problem is then putting them into effect. And actually writing and doing something with them. But ideas, like I said, I got a million of them, and they've always come fast and freely, and characters and plots and all that kind of stuff. It's the actual nuts and bolts that. Well, I got a really great saying from John, which is, do you want to say it? Go ahead, John.
This is attributed to a number of authors, and no one's sure who really said it first.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It's true for me too. I don't like writing, but I love having written.
Yeah.
Some people say it was Hemingway. Some people say it was Gertrude Stein.
I've heard Stein.
I don't think anyone knows who actually said it first, but I think it's such a universal sentiment among writers that it doesn't matter who said it first, because I think everyone sort of feels that way. And anyone who writes any kind of anything, mostly fiction, probably feels that way. Yeah. I don't know many writers who actually enjoy the process of sitting down and just digging in and leaning into it, and really it's hard work, man. Despite what people might tell you, despite what non-writers or people who don't know anything about the process might say, it is hard mental work. Yeah. And I'm here to tell you, I spent the last 3 or 4 months bearing down hard to finish a book that was admittedly late, but I spent the last 3 months just pretty much every evening and every weekend was just bearing down hard, and it's not fun.
I've just spent the last 2 days tearing it apart.
And that's okay, because I've done the same thing with an outline I'm doing. So I'm agonizing over it and second-guessing myself.
Brian, I love the way you constantly throw yourself under the bus. He and I don't have to do it. You just do it for us.
I know, yeah.
It make you feel bad about that at all. You just do it yourself.
I do. I think it's some sort of latent guilt, Presbyterian guilt, which you never hear anything about.
I'll put my Catholic guild against your Presbyterian guild.
Yeah,
any
I
day,
got
buddy.
Catholic and Italian. I'm
Oh,
covered.
oh.
Well, it's funny, a little aside here. I tell this story about when I was 10. I grew up in a church that one morning I found out was very much anti-Roman Catholic. And the lady in our church, our Sunday school class, was trying to tell us, well, do you realize the Roman Catholics believe you must sin in order to be forgiven by God? And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm 10 years old. I'm going, wait a minute. There's a religion that encourages me to misbehave,
Do bad things.
yeah, do bad things. How easy is it to convert? And I threw the whole church into a tizzy. They
Well, you
wouldn't
have
let
to
me
have-
out of that building till I recanted.
I never heard that one. And
Yeah,
I-
you
I
have to
spent-
have sin to be forgiven.
Yeah.
They don't just forgive you for doing nothing.
Yeah. And some of us work at it more aggressively than others.
Yeah,
so-
but if
Bullshit.
you're gonna come in here and confess something, you better
Yeah.
do something worth.
I'm here to
confessing.
tell you, no, we were told not to sin. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh
it's,
man. Well, there goes my childhood dreams.
Next
So-
question.
Next
Yeah.
question. Thank you, Brian
Really?
Rodman.
Hey,
And here we go. This is a good question. They're all good questions, actually. Brian asks, what are two genres you would love to blend?
This cuts right to the heart of one of the things I actually do love to do in writing, which is blend stuff together. Wow.
Most of the people I know in this business are the same way. That
Yeah.
I mean, you can write a perfectly straightforward science fiction, straightforward western, straightforward romance novel,
Yeah.
but mixing the two up.
I'll tell you what I don't like. When I see, I've never read or watched anything like this, but westerns and science fiction don't really do it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Although I hear Westworld is really good, the series, but I haven't watched it. But
Well, there is a lot of science fiction that are westerns in the construction, but
Right,
not
sure.
necessarily the trappings.
sure,
Right.
I
but
mean,
things like cowboys and aliens, that kind of thing.
no, yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like Mandalorian is
Sure, absolutely, yes.
kind of a
Mandalorian,
Western
yes,
that's,
absolutely,
you know,
and I love that. I love the
Yeah.
series. Especially I think it was that second season that was really very Western oriented. But
yeah.
yeah,
I looking back at some things like with me, it was the Lemon Herberts. I wanted to take pulp stuff and merge it with 60s rock and roll pop group. I mean, that really appealed to me to make up a rock and roll pop group, the heroes of some adventures. So that would definitely be one right there.
Cool.
yeah. That's a good question, and I guess I would really have to think about that before I could say anything.
Well,
remote
I
there.
would say that maybe that just doesn't appeal to you.
Yeah, I don't know that. I mean, I tend to be a bit of a well. a bit
You
of
know
a
what?
purist.
You know what? Actually, and I think we're like Flinch Books is kind of doing this. There's been so much blending that in some ways Flinch Books is trying to get back to the genres in their pure form. Like we said, we want to do an old school sword and sorcery anthology. So
Right.
we did that.
Mm-hmm.
We have a more or less pure horror anthology. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have one hopefully that'll be out next year that is going to get back to basics
Yes,
with a genre that we have not touched upon
yes,
as of yet.
and don't ask us any more than that because we can't tell you. We have to
Mm-mm.
kill you.
Mhm.
I would ask one question. Is it the one that I watched the discussion on?
You may
yes.
have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
Yeah.
shut your mouth.
You know. I tell you what.
That's all I'm saying.
What I would say in response to Brian's question is, and this is not something I've done consciously, but and maybe Jim can speak to this. I don't know, having just torn apart my book for the last 2 days, as he said. I think the Midnight Guardian books are part adventure, part detective, and there's even just a tiny little slice of romance going on too. But I don't know that I consciously said I'm gonna fuse all these things together. It was more like, well, I just want a well-rounded story. I want cops. I want detectives. I want this guy who goes out and does stuff in a mask, and I just so it just sort of happened that way. It's not like I sat down and said, I'm going to fuse a bunch of genres and see what happens. It just sort of like, it was more of an organic process for me.
Yeah. And it could also be that these are the things, like you were saying earlier, John, that, if you get a yearning to write, say, a science fiction book, you're going to steep yourself in science fiction to get your motor running. But all of us here have read so many different genres.
Right.
That, I can understand that you maybe unconsciously pull a number of your influences into the current work. Sure. That it's not a conscious decision, but like you were saying, you recognize that, okay, this could use like a little bit of sexual tension here, or, we need like a showdown like High Noon or something.
Sure.
So, I think it just could be a confluence of all the things you've read before, which is really influences a lot of our styles anyway.
And I should clarify, when I say a very tiny slice of romance, I mean very tiny. It's not like you're going to find a Harlequin. I mean, anyone who's been following that series knows that there's this sort of unspoken attraction between these two people in the story. And, you can only write what you know, man. So if there's only a little bit, that should tell you something.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Very, very good. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. And let's get to Cindy's. Here we go. And you've got a couple pretty similar. But what's your current project? What are you guys working on now?
Well, we've been talking about for a little while. So Flinch Books' next book will be the next Midnight Guardian novel by this guy.
This guy, yes.
This guy, yep.
Yes.
And John, remind me, the title is public knowledge or not?
It is, yes.
Oh, what is it?
Let's put. I announced it on a podcast that I'm not sure what kind of circulation or what kind of viewership that podcast has.
I think it's out there. It's out there somewhere, yes. So it's fair game.
So the title of this installment of the saga is God and Sinners. It takes place at Christmas time, 1938. So it just I don't know how much we want to share. I'm just glad to say that it looks like right now, unless something goes horribly wrong, it's actually going to be out in time for Christmas. Because
wow, there's a concept.
Because this guy is actually moving pretty fast with the editing process.
Yeah,
am I pointing to the right? Yeah,
yeah. It's I'm the first person, I think. Or did somebody else read it? Did anybody else in your house?
You're it, man. You're it.
Okay, yep. So I'm getting to read it, and it's going along very well, and I personally can't wait to get this out to everybody because it's going to be a great addition to the series. So that's like more or less immediate from Flinch Books. We have after that it'll be an anthology for next year, and I'm not sure what else maybe next year, but we'll see.
That guy?
This guy.
This guy.
I can't do it. This
is working on something, right? Yeah.
Yes, I'm working on something. I'm always working on something because I love working with you guys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So. And then I have a stalled fiction novel that I'm working on for Becky Books. That would be the third DC Jones and Adventure Command International novel, and I'm hoping to jumpstart that again. Other than that, I'm working on the next volume in this series, which is the Memories from Today's Grown-Up Kids series.
Yes. I had my copy here a moment ago.
Yeah, come on. You just had it up there.
I know it. It's like, where did it go?
Come on.
I know it.
Come on, Morris.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, fine.
It's so little to you.
This was a fun project to be involved in.
It was.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah, definitely. Because John and I were talking about it before.
When we were waiting for your ass to show up, we were talking about it.
Well,
and John, real quick, don't feel bad. This was released in March of the year, okay?
Okay, well, I was concerned because it was starting to look like that for the next Guardian book. And,
Celebrate the 4th of July with holiday cheer.
Releasing A Christmas Story in March. But,
yeah, so you can feel better about it. Okay, I'm sorry, Jim. Go ahead. This thing.
That thing.
This thing, yes. This thing.
Volume 3 of the Memories from Today's Grown-Up Kids series. The basic premise is that I go out and get a bunch of writers to talk about their childhoods, and it's all focused on a particular theme for each volume. It started off with a book about growing up with G.I. Joe, and that worked out well enough that the second one I did was growing up with and running home from school to watch Dark Shadows. And that has literally been my most successful book to date. The Dark Shadows community has just been beyond anything I ever imagined with the way they embraced it and really sunk their teeth into it,
so to speak.
So Rising Sun Reruns is that same idea, but all the writers are talking about being kids and watching imported Japanese TV shows like Ultraman, Speed Racer, Johnny Sacco, Robotech, Battle of the Planets, all those great 60s, 70s, 80s, and we even end the book talking about Power Rangers of the early 90s. I am so proud of the way this one came together. It was just amazing. Amazing cover by Adam Shaw.
Yeah.
And featuring essays by these guys.
Yay.
Yeah. And Brandon and I were talking about this before the show started. We unbeknownst to each other, we wrote very similar essays. You might have noticed in the editing process. But
they're very well separated.
Well, and I know you put John's first, so everybody be going, "Oh God, that hack just stole everything from John." Oh my God.
No, it was just funny because I didn't read Brian's story till after I had my own copy, and I started flipping through, and I'm thinking, yeah, he pretty much touched on all the talking points that I did. So you could have just cut one of those out, and
hopefully by the time the readers get to Brian's, they've already forgotten yours, and we'll act like it's all brand new. No, honestly, I think you obviously didn't have the same exact childhood or anything. Some of the observations are similar, but I wouldn't have the exact same essay repeated in there. But that makes for a very good point. One of the most magical things that has happened in all 3 volumes of these books is that all the essayists are from different times. And like I said, we go from kids who grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even a little bit into the 90s. But when you read the entire book, you see the common threads between all of these writers. And I've even had some reviews that have said that same thing about the G.I. Joe and the Dark Shadows book, that everybody's different, yet they all sort of had the same experience. And hopefully that's the engaging part about reading these books, is that you say, wow, that kid was just like me. That's my story right in that book. It's like they know me and I'm reading my story. And that's what I really love. That happened with the G.I. Joe book. All of the people in there had either like the big G.I. Joes that were soldiers, or the adventure team, or the little ones. If you had kids growing up in the late 80s, for say, that were doing the exact same thing as the kids in the late 60s, they played in very similar ways. They made hills in their backyard, or rivers, or whatever. And I think that's got to be the coolest thing of all about these books.
The other thing I noticed, because I wrote the essay for the G.I. Joe book as well. It just, I can't speak for any of the writers or authors, but it just seems like if you're going to write about a memory, write about a specific memory of a specific treasured thing of your childhood, you're not just writing about that thing. You're writing about the whole context around, like, what was going on in the world at that time? What street did you live on? What kind of house did you live in?
Yeah.
I watched Ultraman on a black and white Zenith TV in 1969. I mean, it's not just about that show or that character. It's about what you brought to it at that age, at that moment in history. You know, it's 1969. Everything was going on in 1969.
Oh, yeah.
You can't not mention that stuff when you talk about a very specific memory about a very specific character.
Yeah. And I've encouraged writers for the new volume to treat what they're writing as time machines. The goal is to send the reader back in time. I always say, illustrate the time that you grew up in. Maybe it's not necessarily the most important thing to give, minute details about like in this, the TV shows that you're watching, but rather about the little brother or sister who used to bug you so much that you missed part of your favorite show. To me, that's going to paint a picture. Or was one of your shows preempted because they landed on the moon, or something like that, something that really gives a picture of the time. The next volume 4, is going to be about playing old school tabletop role-playing games when we were kids. And that's and the time period is going to be 1974 to 1988. And surprise, surprise, these two guys are not in the.
There's a world that is completely foreign to me. It's just something I never got into as a kid, so I can't even begin to go there. I mean, it's a great idea, but I wouldn't be the guy to do it.
And I don't fit the time period because I wasn't growing up during that point.
Oh, yeah, you're pretty old. That's right.
I'm elderly, man. I'm ancient, man.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. My audience gets a break from you both. There'll be other volumes in the future. In fact, the one after that, which I have not announced the theme, I think you're pretty much both going to be interested in that one.
Cool.
I think you mentioned it to me off the record, and I think if it's what I think it is, I'm all over that. Yeah.
Well, if John's in, I'm going to copy his too. So no problem.
if you jump over to Amazon and you're at my Amazon author page, viewers, then you'll see the series of the 3 books, and then stay tuned for more about Volume 4, and hopefully that'll be early next year.
Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah, maybe we'll have you back for that book too. That'd be great. Let's see here. Brian Rodman has another question here. What got you started writing professionally?
Who said I wrote professionally?
See, if you were an author.
There's another distinction right there. Yes. An author is someone who writes professionally.
And a hack is someone who writes for money.
You're just hacking away at it.
Exactly.
Hacking away. You can see all the rough edges. If you would just sharpen that wit of yours.
I'm working on it every day.
John,
what got you started writing professionally?
Well, the question is, what kind of writing are we talking about? Because I started out in journalism right after college, and that was like 1986. But that has nothing to do with the kind of writing we're talking about. But it was I got paid to do it, and I think it was good training in some respects for what I do now. I didn't start getting serious about fiction writing until my late 40s. Or even middle 40s, I think, which is getting to be a frightening long time ago.
Get off my lawn, John.
I got a birthday coming up, and I don't want to talk about it. But
no, it's not that one, is it?
No, but it's the one before that one.
It's the one. It's the penultimate one.
So it's but no. So I had a good like 20 years of writing professionally, as a journalist, before I even got serious about fiction. So I guess that answers Brian's question. I don't know, but but as far as writing fiction, I mean, technically the definition for professionally is you get paid to do it. I guess we do, but in a roundabout kind of way. So I had like 20 years of training and just listening to people talk, writing down facts, calling people and asking questions about stuff they didn't want to talk about. That was my training. And I think in some way it informs what I do now.
Yep.
I'm actually celebrating 20 years this year of being a professional writer, meaning, i.e., I got paid for it for the first time 20 years ago, 2002. I was a visual artist. I don't have formal training in writing or journalism or anything like that at all, even though I've done a lot of nonfiction writing and journalism. I worked for Marvel.com for 17 years, providing weekly content every week for 17 years. I sold a story to DC Comics in 2002. And for a couple of years, I thought I was going to be a comic book writer. I never even thought about writing prose, even though I liked doing that in high school and college. But I never really thought of that. I was determined to be a comic book writer. And then I found out how impossible that actually is to be a professional comic book writer. I didn't really want to do my own things. I wanted to write Batman and the Justice Society and stuff like that. So I had a couple projects, and then I finally got to the point where I realized that wasn't going to be. And let's see, in 12 years ago, I had my first actual book published, and that was Gotham City 14 Miles, and a nonfiction book about the Batman 60s TV series. And after that, I got into the pulp world because I realized pretty soon on that I couldn't write real fiction. but I was not too bad at writing pulp. There was a revelation that day where I did a tryout for Airship 27. I was told to write a 2-page pulp scene just to see if I could do it, and it just flowed right out of me. And I realized I don't need to write all that slice of life, grandiose, the American novel type of thing, when I was just happy writing about a two-fisted masked vigilante in the 1930s running around. So, and here we are today.
Yeah. Very cool. All right. And more questions here. Thank you, Mr. Rodman. And let's see, here we go. Cindy Cap is also a self-publisher. Asks, or is going to be moving into it, actually, I should say. What's the biggest challenge with running a small press?
Wow.
We'll allow more than one answer because there is no one thing.
I'll just jump in. I will say time, mental bandwidth. There's a lot of moving parts that go into publishing a book. The writing is just one piece of it, and it's a lot of juggling. And if you have a day job, or if you have other responsibilities, it's hard to fit all that in the evening hours and the weekend hours. There are certain, depending on how deep you want to dive, there are certain costs involved. But I think that's almost less of a concern than time for me. Just the time to do the work, to do the writing, and actually do the other administrative stuff that's required to turn a book into a book.
Yeah. I'm going to say one of the hugest ones is promotion. As challenging as it is to get to the finish line and have this and an ebook, it's then what do you do? Because the old adage of build it and they will come is just absolutely not true. It's where do you tell people about it? How do you tell people about it? How do you get people to buy it and to read it and to review it? I don't know. I think we're still struggling with those questions. We put out really good stuff, but I don't know if a sizable audience is aware of that yet. There is, you said a lot of moving parts, and that's absolutely true, John. There's a lot of moving parts to promotion, and if anything, I think that's the next plateau, the next level that Flinch has to get to. Is we've got professional covers, professional writing, professional editing, professional formatting. We've got all of that, and the next thing to go to is professional promoting. And
I will tell you this, and I think I can say this with authority. I've been in marketing for more than 20 years. That's my day job. Marketing costs money. Yeah, and it's easy to throw stuff up on social media because social media is free. But if you want to like go the next level, there are lots of things you can do, but the deeper you want to go, the more money you're going to spend, and it's something that we don't make a lot of money doing what we do, so we don't have a lot of money to throw around in that regard.
Well, it's kind of a catch-22. If you spend money to make money, I guess. I mean, there is the wonderful world of podcasts and shows like this,
Sure.
And that's where someone like Brian is such a tool. I'm sorry.
I couldn't agree more.
Sorry, he's an important tool. Wait, no,
I'm a big tool, right? I get it.
He's a really big, important tool. No, he's a godsend as far as I'm concerned, because you know what? This is an incredible platform.
It is.
There's going around and posting about your book in Facebook groups. And half the time you get resistance because you get the administrators say, we don't want you advertising anything in here. But pardon me, it's germane to your audience. Nope, don't want you posting any advertising, anything at all. We're not selling stuff here. So
I've heard stories in the last year or two of people being shut down because they're promoting stuff. They're trying to sell stuff on Facebook in places where it seems like it's appropriate to do so.
Yeah.
Well, even Facebook now, I have heard from some people that I believe totally that Facebook is now sometimes, like if I were to post something about something I've done, they would flag it as spam.
Yeah.
And even if I just put it on my page and hopefully the people that see it in their news feeds, they want to see that or they expect to see that of me, but it's very blatantly obvious that Facebook is trying to get you to buy advertising.
Yeah. Here's something I learned is if Facebook does not get a cut of it, they don't want to show it to anybody. I learned that you do not put a link to anything outside of Facebook in a post. You put it in the comments, because if you put it in the post, it will show it to a tiny handful of people. Even if they're your friends on Facebook, your Facebook friends, they won't see it because Facebook doesn't want you going off of Facebook to a site where you're going to buy something because they don't get a cut of it.
Well, I've noticed the couple times in the last week that I've posted, I've shared the link to this show, this episode of this show. I get maybe 2 or 3 people liking the post because you would think of the 1,200 people I have on my list of friends on Facebook, you would think more than 2 or 3 people would see that. But I don't know. I don't understand the algorithm. It's a mystery. I don't know that anyone does.
So Cindy, I hope that answers your question. I mean, to me, that is right now our next challenge, and I'm going to hope that within this coming year we might be able to potentially hire someone to help us with promotion, and I use that term loosely.
We've talked about that, and I would, and I think we, I think we agree on this, Jim. Yes, I've been in marketing for a long time, but there are people, especially, it's a generational thing. There are people who understand digital marketing far better than I do. And I think at some point we have to tap into somebody with that kind of expertise.
Well, it also goes to what you said about time. I hope that we can connect with someone or someones who that's what they do. They have the time because that's what they do. Okay, there's another challenge right there, being a 2-man operation.
Sure.
We can't necessarily afford to have a third full partner in this thing, and I might not even want that. I really like that I only have to bounce something off of that guy, and I don't have to bounce it off of anybody else. And that's one of the beauties of small press, is that we're the art directors, we're the content directors. That's just worth everything as far as
I will say you're wise to figure out the thing you're not good at and find somebody who is.
Yeah.
You know, Jim, I know we've done this. You know, every opportunity we get on a podcast, I cannot say enough good things about the young woman who does all of our design and page formatting.
Absolutely.
She's just fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
she was a coworker of mine. She left the job several years ago, but I said, before you go, I'm working on this side hustle with another guy. Would you be interested in helping us with this? And she said, yeah. And ever since that, she has designed just about every cover we've done, with a couple exceptions. She's formatted the pages of, I think, all of our books of 10 of the 11, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
My point being, if you're going to be a small press, figure out what you're not good at and see if you can find somebody who is, because otherwise you're really going to like struggle with that.
That's why we're here. I was not good at certain things. I knew that John would be, so I asked him to come into this venture with me. And then we said, okay, neither one of us are formatters or necessarily designers, so we need that person. Neither one of us are going to be at the point to do full cover art, so we bring in that people. And you know what? We've actually created a little stable of people now. We have go-to people. And then I shouldn't also diminish this, is our stable of writers is just incredible. We have so many now that we can tap into and help us fill these anthologies that we love doing. So there's another lesson. Surround yourself with good people to do the things that you can't necessarily do yourself.
Right. But having said all that, Cindy, I wouldn't want to discourage you from trying, because as Jim has said a number of times, you know, there's never been an easier time. I wouldn't say easier, but there's never been a time
there's never been a better time
to publish your own stuff. It's work. There are challenges, but if you're serious about it and you really want to do it, there's never been a better time.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, great question.
Super great. And Sarah, yes, you did.
Yes, you did. That was
Eric,
easy.
Good to see you, Eric.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
That was easy.
And hello, Rick Bradley. And then he has a comment. Yes, we are. Anyway, it pays to advertise. And Cindy says, someone I know did an A/B test. Posting an outbound link in the original post gets it squashed. Posting an outbound link in comments gets it squashed less.
That's true.
Yeah, no link, biggest reach.
That's
Posting
true.
an image with an unclickable link gets no conversions.
Right. But you can't just say, oh, my new book is called this, and please go to Amazon. If a link is not there, people are not going to bother to try to do it themselves, Google it or whatever. They need a link. So it's one big catch 52, or whatever that saying is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the DC version. So anyway, Brian has a great question here. They've all been great questions, guys. Thank you so much. If you could change one thing about the writing industry, what would it be and why?
Wow.
Yeah, we're getting the heavy stuff tonight.
I can toss something out here.
Okay.
I wish that, well, this is a long conversation we probably don't want to get into, but it seems to, okay, my experience here in Cleveland, at least Northeast Ohio, is that small, locally owned independent bookstores are very supportive of local writers. Mm-hmm. Yep. However, if you're going to be a small press like we are, I won't say Amazon is the only game in town, but it's one of the few places you can go and do it at a reasonable cost.
Yeah.
But I also know that small independent bookstores hate Amazon with a burning passion that goes beyond time. Mm-hmm. So it's a struggle sometimes to get if the entity that publishes your books is Amazon, unless you have a really friendly proprietor, sometimes it's a struggle to get that proprietor to carry your books in their store, because they see Amazon as the Antichrist, and that's, whether they are or are not is probably a different a different conversation for a different time. But my point is, I wish there was less animosity between the entity known as Amazon and the independent bookstore that is inclined to carry your stuff, because out of principle, they just don't want to do it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I am exploring. I interject here. Exploring an alternative way of publishing my next book, The Terrors, that will not require Amazon, but I'll still get it on Amazon. We can talk about that afterwards.
There was some discussion of Ingram.
Yeah, Ingram Spark is the thing, and
Jim had a bad experience.
Shaking his head.
No.
Nope.
Not for it's. Pardon me. It's not for me.
Right.
Yeah. I know people who love it and work within it. I found it very, very difficult. Say what you're going to say about KDP, Amazon, but I'm to the point where I know how to use it. It's very easy for me to upload books. I don't always like their nitpicking sometimes, but beyond that, Ingram was so hard to work with, and that I had to pay.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, at this moment in time, it doesn't cost anything to upload a book through KDP, Amazon.
Right.
Well, sign up for their newsletter. Every issue I've gotten in the last year has had free upload codes.
Okay.
So, and there's also Draft to Digital too, which is coming into its own right now.
I don't like Ingram's reporting.
I've heard nothing but complaints about that.
There's almost nothing that I liked about it. It was a harbor when I was having an issue with Amazon and my account because of something we don't have to go into now. But now I kind of regret that I just didn't push on and get my Amazon thing back up and running, and I published a book through Ingram, and I don't even like logging on to Ingram Spark. It's just nothing.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, I will be the sheep running through the minefield, and I'll let you know how I fare with it.
That's funny because that's how I think of you too.
Yeah. And we don't want to talk about why you're thinking of sheep in that regard. But anyway, Cindy Cap says I have so many
minefield, no less.
Minefield, yeah. Anyway, great question, Brian, and now a great one from Cindy. I have so many story ideas. Yeah. How do you decide which of your ideas to tackle next?
For me, it's the one that I want to do the most. Here, wait, let me refine that. I go with the one that I want to see a finished product of the most. It's the one that I say, man, would I love to hold that book in my hand. Mm-hmm. Man, would I love to have that out there in the world for people to read. That's the one that I go with. I have 3 years worth of topics for this series, and I had to decide which ones to go with first. Mm-hmm. And it really came down to which ones was I most excited about. Which ones do I want to have that finished project? Which one can I envision completely as a finished book? Is there one that I already have the title for, that I know what the cover looks like for in my mind, and go with that? I don't. Well, I think Flinch Books is proof of this. I don't necessarily go with the one that's most commercial.
But always a very interesting one, though.
Yeah. But good. Thank you. I mean, that's going to trump everything right there. Yeah. Is it the most interesing, or at least to me?
Well, the Sword and Sorcery book. I mean, we had no idea that was.
That was a total commercial book.
but I don't think we knew at the time how well it was going to do. It was very well received.
We knew we were tapping into a community, but I would not have imagined. And it's the same with my Dark Shadows book. I knew there was a community, but I had no idea how enthusiastic they were.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, this book has done a lot of good for me. When I take it to shows. And when did this come out again?
I'm glad it's doing well for somebody.
Yeah, well, I'm the one. I'm the one who knows how to market, I guess. But anyway, 2018, and this
is. Hear that?
Yeah, because you know what? I came up with a tagline. If it's the right person, Carl Kolchak meets Chariots of the Gods.
Okay.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
and you get the right vintage of person, and they'll be like, "Ooh, you tell them Night Stalker," and suddenly their ears perk up. So
it's too bad there isn't more of that character.
I agree, and I think somebody should get off their lazy butt and start doing an outline or something. Not that we're hinting or anything.
Oh, start doing an outline.
I'm up to chapter 30. Okay,
3 years later. You know what? I think I should probably start that outline.
Yeah, no. I will. Okay, confession time. One, I was daunted by the fact that I was requested to do a in-depth outline, which I don't do for myself. I realize how much of my work is off the cuff.
Oh, okay.
And then all of a sudden, I'll make up for it because if it's like my Bloodshot book, I'll make a detailed outline, but I don't look at it while I'm writing. So there's a story behind that. But no, it's a good challenge though. I'm enjoying the challenge.
Good.
But good. I did wind up doing a lot of second guessing myself.
Yeah.
And
welcome to the business of writing.
Yeah, no joke. Yeah, no joke. Yeah. It's just now I'm doing it with a formal outline rather than just just out of my head. But no, it's been a good challenge, and I'm really liking the story, and especially when we talked about it at Windy City, certain things that you guys told me you wanted to see in this book, and I'm like, okay, yeah, let's work with this.
Okay.
A sense of ambiguity, I will say.
Okay.
Yeah, that I'm finding a wonderful challenge and actually gives me some good moments towards the end.
Yeah, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Next question.
Yeah, really, no joke. Yeah, well, this whole hour and 6 minutes was leading up to my mea culpa. Okay,
all one big confession.
Yeah, that's right. It's good for the soul. Now, John, did you answer that question? What ideas you tackled?
It's funny because I have ideas for series, but not specific stories. Like it's like, wow, it would be fun to write a series of stories about X or Y or Z.
Yeah.
But I don't think in terms of like the specific story. Although there's one that kind of came to me earlier this year when I was watching a TV series called Archive 81. I think it was on Netflix. And it only ran for one season, and it looked really good, and it ended really interestingly. But Netflix, being Netflix, just sort of arbitrarily pulled the plug on this thing, and I'm kind of thinking, God, I would like to have seen more of that. But it sort of like sparked some ideas for me that that could likely become a novel at some point.6But as far as I wish I could say like Jim, I got a million ideas all the time. I have maybe a half a dozen. I don't have a million. And I feel like before I even want to begin to touch those ideas, I have to like really think about where I want them to go. I can't just sort of jump in. I'm not a pantser. I'm more of a plotter. I need to know where I'm going. Otherwise, I will just go down numerous dark alleys and waste a lot of time. So yeah. Hopefully that answers your question somewhat.
No, that's a very good answer. Very good answer. And from the desk of a small press publisher, check them out Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, and also tomorrow night on Comic Book Spectrum, where Joe D. McPhee is one of our co-hosts. Please come see us tomorrow night at 7 Eastern. Being that we are in an age of influencers, how important is it to align your publication with the correct podcast, show, or influencer, or to add on to that? Do you take a shotgun approach and just go to anyone who will, let you take up space there? And don't be asking why you settled on this show, because I probably won't like the answer.
I would say it's pretty important.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
I kind of hate to keep going back to the Dark Shadows book, but I was able to tap into not only some groups, but also individuals who, I know this sounds weird, are like Dark Shadows influencers, like people who are prominent in that fandom, and got them behind the book, and that really, really helped. That really sold the idea on me. Although, in general, I'm kind of a shotgun approach, but I'm starting to realize that that can be somewhat of a waste of time.
I mean,
Also, that
I
you
think you
got to
can be.
really kind of focus it more.
I think you can be shotgun to a point, but I think if you start like taking a Dark Shadows book and and showing up on a podcast about romance novels, that's just because
Well,
they'll have you.
actually, no. That's
Well,
because it is a romance.
Okay, all right,
All right,
bad
that's-
analogy.
It started
but-
out as a romance. It was
Yeah.
soap
I mean,
opera,
okay,
so-
you know what? If I go on an Ultraman podcast and
Right,
start talking
okay.
about my Dark Shadows book,
Yes,
then
yes,
Yeah.
that's literally just taking a shot in the dark
Right.
shadows and hoping that you're gonna, there's gonna be that Ultraman / Dark Shadows fan out
Hey,
there somewhere.
they were both on after school, man. Come on, it just
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I'm going to say in these days it's pretty important. Although I absolutely abhor the word influencer. I mean, it's
I'm not
just,
a fan either. I'm not a
yeah.
fan.
I mean, I realize that the internet has become a reality all of its own, and people live in it. But you know what? At this point, I'll prostitute myself.
Well,
I'll go out
I
there.
think I think there are instances and there are certain people for whom the word influencer does make sense. But I think
Yeah.
there are way too many more people who are just looking for a way to be famous for being famous. It's like
Yeah.
they don't necessarily have a product to sell,
Yeah.
but they somehow find a way to like position themselves on the internet and make themselves just visible.
Yeah.
And you never quite know what it is they're trying to sell or promote. It's just sort of like, I'm here a lot, I make myself ubiquitous, and somehow I'm getting traction. But the more you look, the more you're asking yourself, are they selling like fashion? Are they selling what exactly are they selling here?
Themselves.
Yeah, well,
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are a product to a limited degree, because we could talk about Quest for the Space Gods or Rising Sun reruns available on Amazon right now. Go get it. We can talk about all this all day, but part of it like there's a hefty number of people I've heard of in here that I see their names in there, and I'm going to be like, yeah, I want that book because I want to read what John has to say, or anyone else.
There's another challenge, and
Yeah.
and here's me building up contributors in our books or my books or whatever.
Okay.
There's a big challenge in getting into tapping into all of those people's audiences, because I get a significant amount of contributors who they won't even post once about it on their social media. I mean, personally, I don't understand that. I ask nicely. I wish I could demand it or make it some kind of contractual thing. And then, you know what? And then I get a few who are they just get out there and just shout and shout and shout about it, which is really, really great when that can happen. But I kind of wish more contributors to anthologies, either nonfiction or fiction, would talk about it at least once or twice, because although I don't pick people because they have audiences, but it is a bonus when they do come with their own audience.
Yeah.
Brian Morris,
Thank you. That's how I get by without talent.
good question.
Yeah, it is a
Yeah.
great question. It really is. And the thing is, that boggles my mind too. Why we wouldn't talk about our work? I am so, very proud of what I do, and I am proud of the people I rub elbows with. And if somebody like Flinch Books or Ben Books or whoever picks up a story of mine and publishes it, I'm over the moon. That's validation to me.
Yeah.
And so I want the world to know. And I'm not necessarily bragging about myself so much as look at what I've done. It's like if I have baked a wonderful cake or I've made a sumptuous meal for my friends, that sort of thing. It's the product, but, and again, I recognize that I come with this to a certain degree, plus the trappings. But, yeah, I just never understood why people don't talk about what they do in this
Unless
field.
unless they think that they have too many things going on, or they, I have a million projects. I can't, talk about them all.
Right.
But my retort to that is you wanted to be in this particular project, but again, and I'm not going to try to throw anybody under the bus. I just wish there was a little bit more help. I mean, I would appreciate it. I don't demand it, but I would appreciate it.
No, you asked very nicely when you let us know that the book was available for sale. I totally get that. I really do, and I'm like you. And the thing is, I think it's a holdover from the old days when in traditional publishing, where the publisher took care of the PR.
Well, sure.
But now it's not that way. Even with the big 5/4.
Right.
No. Yeah,
Well,
believe me, I had a high profile novel once published that did not receive one single iota of promotion or advertising from the publisher.
But if it's
it died on the vine, you know.
Man.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but if it's the one I'm thinking of, the publisher went out of business shortly after that, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like shortly, kind of in the grand scheme of things, yes.
Yeah.
But when the book came out, it was not. I mean, I looked, nothing, no Facebook, no Twitter, and they were active on both, and they didn't even bother to promote it. So I basically said, then I'm not going to bother with it, and then now it's a dead book.
You know, Brian, to your point about audiences, you know, I think sometimes people don't even know what kind of readership or audience they have. Mm-hmm. I don't. I mean, all I know is the other day I posted something. I said, well, I finally finished my novel and it's off to the editor now. And like 90 people responded to that. I wasn't expecting that. Mm-hmm. I don't know who's out there. I don't know how many. Honestly, I couldn't tell you how many books I've sold. I don't know who's reading it. I know some people. I mean, you know, mm-hmm. I have people in weird parts of the world who have read my book or books. But I couldn't tell you the size of how many, you know, where they are. I don't know. I mean, it's
not. And you're always asking, well, who, you know, envision your average reader. I don't have one.
I don't know.
You know, it's not particular. I only know because of I did some Facebook advertising years ago, and I found out that mine is just slightly skewed towards female over male, but you know, like 55 to 45. But aside from that, I don't have an average reader. They don't all have the same profession. They don't have the same political outlook. But the only thing they have in common is they're buying my books, and that's the one I really want to focus on.
If we could get more reviews, we might have a better idea.
Well, that's the age old. I mean, if I had $1 for every person who said I will write a review but didn't, I mean, I could buy a publishing company.
This book, no reviews, 1 rating. This book, no reviews, 1 rating. You know, after how many people said, "Oh, of course I'll review it." You know, 2 sentences, 3 sentences, maybe. If I, you know, it doesn't take much. Just I want feedback. I don't want a pat on the back necessarily.
Right.
You know, I don't need to have my ego stroked necessarily.
We just want to know if the mic is on.
I just want to know, like, did you read it?
Yeah.
Was there anything about it that was pleasing? Did you have a problem with any part of it?
The analogy I've made many times to many people on podcasts like this, or just conversations or presentations I've done, I think in large part, I feel like, you know, at least my approach to this, and I think this is true for a lot of small press publishers, it's like a message in a bottle. You write the book, you publish the book, you send it out in the world, and you wait to see what, if anything, comes back to you.
Yeah, 5 years later.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, you just don't know. But I mean, you always hope for more, but you just don't know.
And I know I sat here and I said, "Oh, I pick ideas that appeal to me the most, and I don't necessarily pick things that commercial." All that said, I don't write and publish in a vacuum. I don't want to do that. I mean, I'm doing this because I want people to read the stuff. Whatever it is, and it would be nice to know that people are reading it, and let's start a conversation. You didn't like the book, tell me about it.
Right, tell me why. Right.
And literally just saying I hated that book. I mean, okay, but that doesn't tell me anything other than that you hated it. I have no idea what that even really means.
I saw a blog post once, and I'm blanking on the guy's name. I think it's Scott Oden, Oden.
Okay.
And he said he said the question often gets asked, why do we do this? And he said, my answer is it's hope, because you write the next one and you publish the next one with the hope that like this will be the one that will connect with somebody in a way that your previous ones didn't, or you connect with someone who you didn't connect with before. Maybe this maybe this next book will be the one that sort of like moves the dial for you in a way that the other ones haven't.
Yeah.
You just don't know.
Yeah. In my lowest moment ever, I remember I posted on Facebook one time, why the hell am I planning book 2 when no one read book 1?
Right.
Yeah.
Or my perception is that no one read book 1. Why am I sitting here publishing book 2? And then the answer was, well, I guess I'm publishing it for myself, for some kind of
I think
wrong with
also
that.
there's a critical mass. I think once I don't know. This is just strictly a gut instinct. If you publish enough, at some point you establish, you create a body of work, and it's not just about the one book. It's about
sure,
this is the guy who's written like 18 books.
Sure.
It's hard to get famous on one book, but if you've written like 6 or 8 or 12,
yeah,
then you become that guy who wrote those 6 or 8 or 12 books.
Mm-hmm.
That's my motto, quantity, not quality. Next question.
Next question. Eric Hawkins has a good comment here about promotion, though. Brian and I, meaning me, were part of a project that we expected the other people involved would promote, but ended up being mostly Brian and I. Yeah.
Not surprised. Not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm very sorry to hear that, but not surprised.
And good evening, Grant. Glad to have you here. And Rick Bradley said, I told someone on Twitter that said my writing was yuck to give me my first 1-star review, and I still haven't received even that review.
That's unusual.
I like that. I can't even get a 1-star.
That's interesting because people like to.
Oh, we would
like to beat up.
We would have killed for a 1-star review.
Yeah, I remember when we had to go looking for 1-star reviews by barefoot uphill both ways.
Oh, yes. You got a 1-star review. We would have killed.
I think there's a whole strata of people who enjoy like writing nasty reviews. So you would think it'd be easier to find somebody who would write a 1-star review than a 4 or 5. But
yeah. If only. And Kelly Austin has a question
for
us.
Wait a minute.
Wait.
I'm sorry. We've been making fun of Kelly this whole time. She's an author.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Kelly. You didn't hear that first part.
For everything that I said.
And Jim said it, not me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there we go.
I did say Flinch Books said it. Okay.
And she has a question. During your various escapades, I guess, have you felt like you've lost your momentum in a project you're trying to get published? And if so, how do you get that momentum back, get on track, and hit your deadline? That's heavy.
Deadline.
My response is, when haven't I lost momentum on a project?
Yeah.
I'm facing that right at this moment with DC Jones 3. I lost total momentum. How am I going to get it back? Hey, here's something that I did just today.
Yes.
And this might not work for everybody. The other day I was looking at what I had already written, and I've written about 5 chapters, something like that. I have this one, and I'm going to use this term loosely, fan of DC Jones 3, who I have sent works in progress to and gotten his opinion. I actually sent him a private message today, I think it was, and I said, would you like to read the 5 or so chapters that I have? Because my hope is getting some feedback from you will kickstart this project again.
Yeah.
So there's something that you can do is... And the cool thing about this guy is that he's not necessarily just going to say, oh my God, it's great, it's wonderful, I can't wait till this is published. He's going to give me some constructive comments, and that's what I want. But maybe that's just what I need. Maybe I do need a little ego boost and know that there's at least one person out there that wants to read the complete DC Jones 3
Sometimes
things. So that's a trick.
Yeah.
Sometimes for me, it's I don't even have to do that. All you do is unless it's absolute garbage. If I go back and read a few chapters I've already written, sometimes that's enough. It's just like, oh, this is actually better than I thought. There's a flow to this that I really you don't see it when you're typing a word and you're typing another word and another word after that. You don't see the big picture. You just see one word, two word, three words. But I think if you go back and read a couple chapters of what you've written, and you realize, oh, this is not bad. Yeah. Sometimes for me, that's enough. That'll be the motivator. Like, okay, well, clearly you're sort of on the right track. This may just be your first draft. It may still be like rough, but okay, these last three chapters that I wrote, they look pretty solid. They look like they're going in a good direction. Sometimes that's enough for me.
Yeah. Kelly, here's another trick. Fall in love with the idea of it as a finished project, and then remind yourself that the only way you're going to see that is for you to finish the damn thing.
Yep.
Fall so in love with the idea of sitting at a table at a show and signing copies of it. Kelly Austin, author.
Not writer.
Not writer, but author. And with a big banner behind you that says author.
Well,
but and then again and say there is no way that is ever going to happen until I finish this book.
Yep. Yeah, and the other thing I would recommend is be married to Cookie. Who has been asking me for 7 years, where is Volcana 2?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
and the answer is
it's right up here. No, and Gain, what you're saying, Jim, I'm in love with the character. I love that character, and I really want to put out the third book, but I can't put out the third book until I get the second out. So
now, don't think that far ahead, because that's my problem. Is I start thinking to the next book. It's like, finish the one that you're in. Yeah. I like John's answer the best, though.
Yeah, I do too. And I see we're coming out. We're on 8:30 now, and I know Jim has to go watch some sort of show or something.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Well, we'll get a couple more, and then I've got one from Brian Rodman that I think would make a great closer here.
Okay. All right.
Cindy Kemp would like to know, what is the most important thing a writer needs to know? Other than everything.
That you're not you're not as good as your mother tells you are. But you laugh, but I am actually pretty serious about that.
Yeah. I laugh with sympathy. I get it.
If I ever talk to a group of young writers, every once in a while I do that. I give them two pieces of advice. One is, finish something, damn it. Stop leaving these little orphans all around.
Yep.
Finish something.
Amen.
The other one is stop believing what your family and friends are telling you about your writing. Because they are not going to tell you the truth that you need more work. I've seen this over and over and over and over again. I wrote this thing and I let my mother read it. I let my best girlfriend read it, whatever. And they turn around and they go, oh my God, this is great. This is wonderful. You are the best. This happens with singers too, on all these different shows that are on TV. These are, you know what? You love these people, and I totally get it, but these are not the people that you need to be getting feedback from. Unless they're professional writers that are somehow going to give you some tough love, you need somebody else to give you that tough love, and then you need to listen to it, because honestly, all you're going to get is your dad telling you that it's the best thing he ever read. And then you go out and you publish it and you make a fool out of yourself.
Right.
I'm sorry if that sounds harsh.
No,
but it needs to be said. I see it all the time.
I agree.
That's why there's so much crap out there. That's why there's so many bad singers on television, because somebody close to them is telling them how good they are. when that's the worst thing that they could be telling them. What they need to be telling them is, you know what, it's not bad, but you really should work on it some more.
I agree with everything you just said. I would also add,
Shocker.
And we've got on video.
I would also add, there are way too many writers who don't have an appreciation and a respect for the basic mechanics of writing English or whatever language they Wait a minute, you're both pointing at me.
Yes, true.
Yeah, it's like saying this. Yeah,
Oh,
this.
yeah.
This.
I
This
mean,
is a good one.
I get so frustrated, and I think Jim and I have talked about this, offline. But when we get a manuscript from a writer who just disregards the most basic rules of grammar, punctuation, etc., because somehow it's like it's beneath them, or it's something that they shouldn't have to be bothered with, because I guess we're supposed to be the ones to fix that. I really bristle at that, because nothing will turn an editor off faster than being handed something that somebody clearly either didn't know the rules or didn't feel the rules applied to them, or they didn't.
It's not a style. You need
Right.
to learn the rules before you can break
Exactly.
the rules.
Exactly. Yeah. I just, nothing will turn an editor off faster than that, I think.
Yeah.
And I tell people constantly that your job as a writer, as a contributor to any publication, any publishing company, is to make the editor's job easier.
Yes.
You're not there to add to that person's workload. You're there to solve problems for them.
Somebody asked me once, why do all of your open calls for these books say you must be a professional writer, you must be a published writer? And this is exactly why. Because I will be there forever editing that book. It's not my job to clean your work up to that extent. I mean, I get it. There's a few things, and we all make typos and that sort of thing.
Sure.
But I feel like I have to do that. I'm not exactly opposed to being someone's first place where they're published, but come to me professionally,
right.
First, and then we'll talk about getting you published for the first time. But that's just yes.
I totally get that.
Good
Cindy,
question.
Yeah, excellent question. These have all been great questions.
All of them, that's just
Yeah, we're probably not going to get to all of them before we have to leave. But Cindy Kep has a really good question here. Is there value in spin-off projects, such as a game based on a book or a coloring book based on a comic, or does that detract from the writing?
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
I kind of do. You're talking about, does that detract from the writing for the writer?
Or even do you think it dilutes the gravitas of the project?
Yeah, should I write the 4th Sergeant Janice novel, or should I get the action figures made?
Yeah.
Should I have the role-playing game being made, or should I put out the 4th, novel? What's more important? I could see where getting some stars in your eyes could detract from the writing, but you kind of have to ask yourself what's most important. Did you write that book to sell it as a movie, to get a role-playing game made off of it, or a coloring book, which I actually do love that idea because I'm a big coloring book fan. I think it comes down to individual tastes and knowing your audience. I certainly wouldn't put $50,000 into having a line of action figures made from my book if nobody wants those action.
It becomes a question of return on investment. And not just money investment either, but time. It's like, do I want to put the time into some kind of a spin-off project if it's just going to sit on a convention table and not move? I don't know.
You could test the waters. You could make bookmarks from, I mean, that's a spin-off.
Start small. Yeah.
Yeah, start small and test the waters. I wouldn't jump right into an expensive polystone sculpture of your character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it all really just depends, which isn't much of an answer, but that's my answer.
Okay. That's a good one. And Cindy would like to also know, what is the biggest, most common mistake you see indie authors making? And I'll expand this a little because it's kind of like the previous question, but like it shows, when you guys are approached at a show and somebody says, I'd love to write for you guys, what are some of the mistakes that people make that sends up red flags that maybe this is not a good fit for us?
Well, I think John said it about not knowing the mechanics.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I would go back to that. It's just,
that's a huge one right there.
If you hand me a draft of something that, like, please take a look at this and tell me what you think.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to write for you guys. And I see, like, again, if I see a lot of just, the systemic problems with the really basic mechanics of writing, I that's a red flag for me. Just it's like I don't want to teach you the stuff you should have been learning in the 6th or the 4th or 5th or 6th grade, as far as just the basics of of punctuation and spelling and grammar, etc.
Here's another one: not following guidelines.
Yeah,
I'm getting a little bit of that right now at Becky Books. Is I put some effort into creating guidelines for the books, or the Bible, if it's a fiction anthology, whatever you want to call it, a Bible guidelines or whatever. It's just like reading the first couple of sentences, if even that, and then just going off. And then you know what? You're wasting everybody's time. You're wasting your own time. You're wasting my time. You're wasting everybody's time if you're handing in material that just cannot be used. I've had that situation going back several years on anthologies that I've created for other publishers. So that's a big mistake, thinking that you're just going to do whatever the hell you want to do. Guidelines are created for a reason, and if you can't work within them, then that project's not for you.
I don't think we've seen a lot. I mean, I don't doubt that's happening with Becky Books, unfortunately, but I don't think we've seen a lot of that with Flinch, have we?
No. Once I think that did happen early on, but no, not really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I know that when I announced that I was starting my own imprint, I had, people of my acquaintance who, like, I've got a 930-page sword and sorcery character that's all one long sentence. When can you publish it? It's like, no.
No,
but hell no.
That's called a novelty book.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You have no vision.
I know, and I guess I just didn't have enough furniture around here with one leg shorter than the other that I could apply it in practical terms. So yeah. It's like I ran into a writer at a literary meeting one time, and he showed me he had written like 27 novels, and he had them like in a folder, and that was only about this thick, and I'm like, where are they? And he goes, oh, they're all here. And it turned out he had written all of them single-spaced with no paragraphs, no indentation. And he's like, well, I figured the editor will put that in.
That's exactly to my point. It's just...
It's like, he won't.
Yeah. No, he won't.
Especially since he was asking if I would publish it. No, he won't.
I know one that won't.
Yeah, I shave him every now and then.
Here's another one.
Yeah, okay, we've got a consensus here.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Let's get through some of these others. Okay, here we go. Rick Bradley, would a link in the comments help with a post if you don't put it in the post?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
mean, doing something will help you more than not doing it.
Yeah, it's a proven fact. Yeah, put the link in the comments, and make sure in your post you say link in the comments below.
Right.
Or again, because people just don't read anything, they're never gonna they're never going to know that it's there.
Yeah, and also when you share things,
solution.
make sure you share the link too in your comments, because that's something I realized I was doing for a long. Oh, Jim and John have a book. I'm going to share that knowledge with people. Then I forget to put in the link that will actually simplify their lives so they can go buy the book because I'm a dork. So anyway,
and a tool.
A large tool. Anyway, and Kelly Austin.
Wait, Kelly's still talking to us.
Yes, she is. You haven't destroyed her soul yet.
Bashing we did. Or pardon me, I did.
You did.
You did, yeah. So anyway, do you recommend any other social media sites like Facebook in which a writer can promote and expand who they are and what they are writing to attract other interest?
No. Next question.
Twitter.
Now she hates you.
I have a Twitter account. I know Jim does too, and it just seems like it is impossible to get traction on Twitter. I just can't. It's really. I mean, I feel lucky if I get like 3 or 4 likes on any given Twitter post about anything I'm doing. Instagram, I post like cover images and stuff, but that Instagram is more of a visual thing. So it's like it's hard to promote writing on Instagram because it's a very visual, photo or image oriented platform.
Right.
Plus, you can't put a link in the.
You cannot.
The
post.
All I can say is if you are going to use something other than Facebook, then take the time to learn it. Mm-hmm. I was on Twitter for God knows how long before I even got a glimmer of how the hell it was supposed to be used.
Yeah.
And I still don't use it the way it was meant to be used. It's pretty much like I want a celebrity to like something that I said. That's what Twitter is to brush up against celebrities.
Pretty much. And also, go ahead, Jim.
I actually got I got a couple of writers for this, and I'm getting some more writers for the next one through Twitter. So it is starting to pay off a little bit, which is nice.
It just seems like it takes a long time to get traction on Twitter.
Yep.
It really does.
Yeah,
no, I'm a Facebook person. Sorry.
Well, and also, I did some research years ago into the lifespan of a post. And this is about 5-6 years ago, but even back then, a Twitter post has about a 20-minute lifespan.
Yeah.
And after that, it just gets buried by so many other things. Sure. So,
yes, unless you then become a celebrity and you said something untoward 7 years ago, and then it'll be found.
Right.
Yeah. Why I'm not canceled? I mean, somebody is not doing their job. Somebody is not investing a lot of work, and I am a prime subject here. So let's see.
Maybe like one more before we hit that final one, Brian.
Yeah, let's do that. And I've got the perfect one here from Mr. Brian Rodman. And that is, thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much. And I'm going to go buy a Flinch book tonight. Thank you, Lord. Which one should I buy? I Love Horror and Pulp
The answer
Adventure.
is yes.
Just close your eyes and drop your finger down. You can't go wrong. No, if you had to recommend one or two, what would you recommend, knowing he likes horror and pulp?
We have both of those.
Frankly, the whole catalog.
Yeah, Restless is our horror anthology.
Yeah, Restless is tis the season for Restless, I would say, with Halloween coming up.
Yeah, definitely. And as far as pulp adventure, that would be Midnight Guardian.
Or Sergeant Janice, certainly. That's
more. I think that what Brian is saying is more like Midnight Guardian. Yeah, I'm not going to dissuade you from buying Sergeant Janice, but if you want pure pulp adventure, then its name is Midnight Guardian.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree, and if you like, I would say like 70s action adventure stuff, I'd recommend this.
Are you in that book, Brian?
I believe I am.
Okay.
I might have a couple words in here. I'm not sure, but something like this. It's just a good read overall, and I'm not saying that because I'm in it. I actually went through and read the other stories because. Yeah, well, I know you guys did. You better have. Otherwise, Brian, how'd you get here?
There's a good example of a little bit of genre blending in that. So, a little horror. A little bit international thriller, a little bit science fiction, A
Adventure.
little bit like historical even. So it's got a lot of things going on in it.
Adventure, certainly.
Yeah. Yes, very proud of that book.
I'm proud to be in it. I seriously am. And Brian, also be sure to not ask why isn't there a novel. Why isn't there a novel? I'm sure they're working on that. So
I'm sure somebody is.
yeah, somebody is. He's just stuck at the moment. But anyway, I think that's it. And I want to thank everybody who showed up tonight for our premiere. We've had some great comments, some great questions. I apologize we could not get to all of them, but I'm pretty sure I can get Jim and John to come back sometime.
Yeah, I think we might do that.
Yeah, get the checks together, so.
And shout out to Kelly.
Yeah.
Yes, it was all in jest.
Yes.
Seriously. Yeah, seriously in jest.
It
Yeah.
was seriously in jest. Yes.
Oh, but anyway.
Deadly serious joke, yes.
Yes, but most of all, talking and getting serious, I want to thank you two for showing up here. It's always a pleasure to talk and hang with you guys. Oh yeah. And definitely check this one out from Becky Books if you want to see all three of us in the same place.
And Midnight Guardian.
Midnight Guardian.
God and Sinners.
God and
Coming
Sinners.
very soon.
I think I think at this point it's safe to say no later than Thanksgiving, unless something awful happens in the next 6 weeks or so.
You shouldn't have said that, damn it.
Well, yeah.
Thanks, John.
Well, okay. Yes.
So
that's the plan. That's the hope.
Yeah. So anyway, if anyone wanted to keep up on you guys, we'll start with John this time and then go to Jim. How would people keep up with your amazing exploits?
You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. The Twitter handle is @JCBruening. You can find me on Instagram. The Instagram handle is also @JCBruening. I have an author page on Amazon. I have a I have a website that's been in the works, that it's been in the making for longer time than I'd care to admit, but it's coming. Hopefully early part of next year, but who the hell knows? So those
Certainly
are the primary...
not you.
What's that?
Certainly not you.
Wow, tough crowd. Okay, so yeah, those are the primary places where you can find me. Also, Flinch Books has a page on Facebook as well, so you can find. We don't update it as much as we probably should, but you can find out what we're doing at Flinch on that page.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yep.
And Jim, anything you want to add to that?
The Flinch book, the Flinch Books page.
That's easy for you to say.
It's getting late, folks. We're a little late. We're a little late, folks. So we'll be signing off now. The Flinch Books page, yes, on Facebook. The Becky Books page is actually called the Jim Beard and Becky Books page. And that gets updated a little bit more than the Flinch Books page. Because remember, folks, it's quantity, not quality. And I'm on Twitter at writer Jim Beard. And I have an Amazon author page. And there also is 2 books of mine that are not on my Amazon author page that are at moonstonebooks.com. And that's my Green Hornet novel and my Kolchak the Night Stalker novel. So you got to find those there. And I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, again, guys, thank you so much for being here. This has been a lot of fun.
It's always fun. Always fun here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
I
Thanks
appreciate
for bringing us back.
Yeah. I may have to do this again. And definitely we're gonna have this configuration again sometime. So
say when.
All right, will do. Well, I'm going to take over the screen for a moment. Please hang out, guys, and after I close out the show, we'll talk a little bit more. But anyway, thank you all for watching Clever Title Pending. Thank you for welcoming us back. And we're going to be hopefully back next month with another episode. If you've enjoyed any part of this show, please leave us a thumbs up on YouTube or a like on Facebook. And be sure to subscribe to this channel because we got some more great content coming up soon. And also my stuff, risingtide.pub. You can sign for my free insider information notices come out the first of the month. Also, I can be found on Amazon, Walmart.com, Smashwords.com, Booksamillion.com, any sort of .com. And Also, want to say that this weekend I'm going to be at the Franklin Park Mall at 5001 Monroe Street at Writer's Block, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Me and about 3 dozen other authors are going to be bringing our books and signing.
In what city?
In Toledo, Ohio.
Yeah, you think that would be a good idea to say that?
I was getting around to that.
No, you wouldn't.
I have a script.
No,
I have a
you
script
weren't.
here. Don't you know I'm reading a script? So, not that I'm
Who
looking
wrote
at
that
it.
script?
Yeah. Anyway, no, please come see us at Toledo, Ohio, the home of Jim Beard. You can see that on the sign as you're entering town.
It does actually say that.
It does. It's that's why I'm proud to be there. So anyway, that's where I'm going to be from 11 to 5 this coming Saturday. Please come see us. We're going to have a whole lot of cool books. And then the weekend after that, I'm going to be at HalloCon at the Econo Lodge at 1507 North Tibbs Road in Dalton, Georgia. Got that city in just so you know. And we're going to have a whole lot of fun there. Go to hallocon.com for more information. And we also want to thank our sponsors, namely Rising Tide Publications. Keep tabs on them because The Terrors the book The Terrors will be coming out soon. And also Plasma Fire Graphics sponsored this show when the look of your book matters to you.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Check out the Plasma Fire Graphics Facebook page, and also go to plasmafiregraphics.com and ask them about their indie creator-friendly pricing. You'll be glad you did. That's Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you, because it definitely matters to your readers. Also want to thank our Patreon supporters who are helping the Rising Tide surge forward. And if you want to find out what you get in return for your monthly financial support, go to www.patreon.com/Brian K. Morris. In fact, we've got a blog coming out tomorrow. $1 a month will let you see that blog. It's going to be fun. And so with that, thank you again for welcoming us back with Clever Title Pending. We hope to have you back next month. Please subscribe to this channel so you'll be kept up on all the information as soon as we make it happen. And as always, stay smart, stay safe, wash your hands, and never apologize for being awesome. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you hopefully next month on Clever Title Pending.